Hey, what's up, everybody? And thank you for tuning into the Water Bearer podcast. So, tonight is the season finale. We're at the end of season five. And so, I have something really cool planned for season six. So, I'll announce what that is at the end of the show. But for tonight, I'm so excited to have us being closed out by Candice Childress. You may know her as the Hippie Dippy. I followed her on TikTok for about a year or so, I think. So I really love her videos. She always talks things about astrology, and everything I saw her say about Aquarius is on point, and even the other signs too. So she represents Capricorn sun sign. So we're going to get into, as you've seen with the promotions, we're going to get into the big three: the sun, moon, and the rising, what all that means. She is a modern mystic. So we're going to have her explain exactly what that means and what it entails as far as the astrology, tarot, things of that nature. And we're also going to touch on Mercury Retrograde, which we're currently in the midst of right now. So I can't wait to have her on so that we can dive into this discussion. And just a few preliminary things to get out of the way here. Again, welcome to the show. If this is your first time watching, then welcome. And if you've been here every episode, then welcome back. And remember that sharing is caring, but subscribing is thriving. So, hey, I would appreciate it if you join the Drip family. You may hear me say or see me say "catch the drip" a lot. That's what it says on my shirt here. So it's kind of the catchphrase of the podcast. And yeah, make sure you share it, like it, leave comments. So we're live. So make sure you have any questions or anything like that, put them in the chat and we will get to them during the show. As I mentioned, this is the season finale, but when we start season six, which will begin September 19th, we'll be back on regular schedule every Thursday at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. Social media, you can follow me at Poetic on Instagram, and that's PEAUXETIC. And then also on TikTok, same spelling, PEAUXETIC, with the number 7 at the end. So definitely remember to have that number 7 for that. And so before I bring Candice out, I want to highlight her social media as well. You can follow her on TikTok at the Hippie Dippy, and that's THEHIPPIEDIPPY, and that's all together, or on YouTube at the Hippie Dippy Studio, and that is all together. So I'm about to bring Candice out, but you all know how we do it. I always mention a famous person of the same sign as my guest. And so a famous Capricorn, if you all did not know, one of my favorite Capricorns, Mary J. Blige, she is a Capricorn. So she's one of my favorites too. Love her music. But without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and bring Candice out to join us.
Hey, how
Candice.
are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm pretty good. Mercury retrograde
Yes.
considered, right?
Yes. Yeah. Definitely want to get into that. I don't know a ton about it. I just kind of know
Okay.
surface. So that's why I really wanted you to close out this season, because I knew my last episode would fall during Metro Retrograde. I'm saying
Right.
it.
Mercury
Mercury
retrograde.
Retrograde. I'm mixing it up. For some reason in my head when I say it, I'm fighting myself to not say Metro Boomin. I don't know why, but
Metro booming. I
right.
love it. But no, even that honestly was like a Mercury retrograde. I found it's been very hard for me to create content during the retrograde. Like I keep messing up or getting words mixed up. So it rules communication. So things like that, little mishaps, technology, your computer having issues, you sending an email to the wrong person, travel
Mm,
delays, all those
mm.
things. It's buying and selling. That's why they say don't buy a big purchase. So if you're going to like buy a car or a laptop, wait until after the retrograde is over. So
Oh,
those are kind
okay.
of things. Yeah. X is popping back up. That's always
Uh-oh.
a thing, or
We don't want
usually a
that.
thing. We don't. I block them on all platforms.
Uh-oh.
Okay. no spinning the
Keep
block.
my block
But
right.
yeah, but it can be challenging. It's more of a time of rest versus like
Mhm.
moving forward with new things.
Okay. Okay. So is it and just for everyone who's listening and
Mhm.
watching, when does the when did it start and then when does it end?
Okay, let me make sure. It started August 4th and it ends August 28th, but it goes into the retro shade. So that's the 2 weeks before and the 2 weeks after Mercury retrograde, so you can still kind of feel the impact. So I would say once we
Oh,
get past September 11th, we're out of the clear. But as soon as it stations direct, we immediately should start to see projects start to pick up again, communication improve, and just our mind feel better, right? Because
right.
even Mercury is our mind and our thoughts, so we can feel a little hazy and wonky unless you have Mercury retrograde in your birth chart, then this could be a good time for you. You could feel like confident, like, and you could even be lucky during Mercury retrograde.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah.
how does somebody find out if they have Mercury retrograde in their birth chart?
Okay. If they pull up their chart and they have a little R, I know that sounds crazy, but that means the planet is retrograde. So when you go to pull up your natal chart on all these
Okay.
sites, you need to look to see if there's an R, and that is an indication of a
Huh.
retrograde planet.
Ah, okay. Because I have this app that another guest actually told me about called Astro Matrix.
Oh yeah.
And so I don't know how you feel about that one or
You
if
know
you've
what?
used it.
Well, I haven't used that in a while. I use time passages. That's like my favorite. And
Okay.
honestly, this is not paid promotion, but I love them. I do love them. I've like emailed the company. I was like, I use your app all the time, and I've constantly mentioned them in some of my posts in terms of keeping track of like the transits. So like your personal horoscope. So it'll tell you
Okay.
everything. It'll show you your natal chart as well as like the planets that are interacting with your chart at the moment.
Oh, wow. Okay. I'm
Yeah.
gonna have to check that one out too then. Okay.
Yes, definitely, and let me know your thoughts.
Okay. I will. I will for sure. And oh, before we get too deep into it, when is your
Okay.
birthday?
Oh, I'm January 17th.
Okay.
I'm
January
Gen
17th.
X. I'm like, I don't want to give you the year.
Hey, no, that's fine. Whatever.
I'm like,
No, you're fine.
I'm old adjacent. Okay. So
No. I know.
Pluto Libra generation. So yeah, I'm a Capricorn. I mean, I'm towards the end, right? We know all astrologers, there are no cusps, but I'm really not one of those people. I do feel like as the sun is leaving the sign, you do start to blend the energies because a lot of times I don't really feel like a Capricorn. And when people meet me, they're like, you don't really act like a Capricorn. So sometimes I do think that like, the sun was leaving. I'm 27 degrees. We're
Ah,
almost to 30. We're like easing on out of
yeah.
Capricorn,
Okay. So do you identify more, do you feel that you identify more with Aquarius?
Well, now I wouldn't say that. No, no shade.
Like, let's clear that
I love
up.
Aquarians, but I'm a little more like emotional, right? Because I'm a little more in
Oh,
touch with
okay.
my emotions. But my 11th house is in Aquarius, so that's my friend group, and I feel like sometimes I have Uranus also on my 7th, which is like opposite my ascendant. So maybe I give off like a little quirky kind of vibe to people, and
Huh.
that's what they see because they're always like, you don't act like a Capricorn, and I'm like, yes, I act probably crazy like an Aries rising, but yeah. But speaking of that, I know you wanted to kind of talk about the big three. So yeah, I am a Capricorn sun, Aries rising, and a Capricorn moon. And I know you're
Oh,
an
okay.
Aquarius sun.
Yes, and Leo rising and moon.
Okay. Wow. Okay. So sun opposite moon.
Mhm. So what I
Yeah.
don't know, I know like what which is interesting because I know a lot of Leos. My grandfather was a Leo. And I usually click pretty well with them, but I really and I've read certain things about I guess what the moon and the rising really means, but I
Hmm.
don't really fully understand like how that plays into, maybe some opposite or like things of being an Aquarius sun sign.
Okay. So those two are sister signs. So it's so funny because I literally just did a TikTok about this, but
Huh.
Aquarius and Leo are opposite on the zodiac wheel. So
Okay.
I like to say that opposites attract, or do they, right? It could be you guys are like this, or you could be the odd couple. So a lot of
Mhm.
times the two signs want the same thing, but they go about getting it in a different way, right? Like Aquarius likes to stand out, but it's just because of their identity, whereas Leo wants to be the star, right? Aquarius just wants to be the individual, but Leo wants to be in the spotlight. So I like to
Mhm.
say that, like, Leo is like the Beyonce and Aquarius would be the Destiny's Child. You know?
Right.
Right,
Right. It makes sense.
and then yeah, and because sometimes you'll even know for me, with my Aquarius friends, I notice that they more so associate, like, with their friends and with groups versus, like, just themselves, like, even when they post on social media, it might be a post of, like, them with other people versus just them being like, "Hey, I'm here," you know? It's interesting, the psychology
That's
behind it.
true. Huh.
Is that how
That's
you do?
I'm kind of the same way. I will post, so I post things of myself, but it's more so it's more forceful, or it's more of a struggle for me to do that, because
Mhm.
I don't really like highlighting myself in that way. But I do it because of the podcast and because of, like, books, because I write books as well. So I feel like I have to do it.
Yeah.
But if it was left up to my own, it's like, oh yeah, I was at this party with these other people, and I just post this picture, and I'm done.
Yeah, and and I get that, but you know what? Because you have that sun opposite moon, it could be this push-pull between blending in or being a part of the collective and standing out and being the Beyonce, right? Like, the Leo moons can be very dramatic and over the top, and they also
Really?
I love Leo moon, though. No offense.
No, no.
I
Hey,
mean,
you can keep
what
it real with me. Hey, I want to know.
yeah. Yeah, one of my closest friends is a Leo moon, but I do like Leo moon because the moon is a dark planet, right? But the sun
Mhm.
of Leo shines the light on the moon. So I feel like it's one of the more lighthearted moon signs. But I
Really?
will say there is that need for, like, attention or self-expression, and which usually comes, right? When you're expressing
Mhm.
yourself, you usually get attention.
That is true, because I do feel like I get easily frustrated when I feel like I'm not being understood, or I'm not able to express myself creatively.
Ah, okay.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah. And so even, like, writing or even doing a podcast, like, that's self-expression. So I'm not sure what sign your Mercury is
Let's see. I
in.
can tell you, because
'Cause I
I have
yeah.
that. I have that chart. Let me see. It's on this app. Let me see. It is. You said my Mercury.
Mhm.
Oh, my Mercury is actually Aquarius too.
Ah, okay, I love an Aquarius Mercury. Very smart,
Huh.
innovative, outside the box thinker, comes up with creative solutions. That's, like, my favorite Mercury. Like, if
Hey,
I could
that's
have that,
cool.
I would have that.
Really?
You
Okay.
like
Okay. Hey, it's good to
it?
know.
Yes, tap into that. Like, pay attention to ideas that you have. You're probably ahead of the time. So, like, the people have to catch up to you, even if it's just an Aquarius sun, right? I always look
Mhm.
at Aquarius as like, we're behind you. You're living in the future, and we're just in the present. You're
I
like,
I do, but it's funny you say that, because even with this podcast, I feel like it's such a niche thing,
Mhm.
and I'm always battling in my head, like, okay, is that too far, or is that, I want to be able to
Yeah.
appeal to people, but at the same time, really showcase the things that I'm passionate about. So I can understand that.
Yeah, I can see that, and I feel like too that would be like the Aquarius versus the Leo, because the Leo would be like, no offense, but like the sellout, and then the Aquarius would be like the one that's like, let's keep it pure, let's keep
Mhm.
it, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
so not even necessarily wanting to appeal to the masses.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. Wow. Okay, that's interesting. Okay, and so how would you say the rising sign kind of
Okay.
comes into play?
So you're coming off to me as a Leo rising, right? So
Really?
you're
Huh.
confident, you are expressive, you're funny, you're witty, you're charming, right? The
Yeah.
sun is the star. So for me, also Leo rising, when it's a Leo rising, it amplifies the sun sign. So maybe you feel like you're a tried and true Aquarius. But for
Mhm.
me personally, you're definitely giving me more like the Leo vibes. But that
Really?
also,
Huh.
yeah, but that can also be too if with your Leo moon, because that I'm assuming is in the first house. Well, yeah, right. Because I use Placidus. I'm not sure if you're using whole sign, but I'm assuming the moon is in the first house. And even with that, that can give you more of a warm, kind of like sweet, caring, but like inviting energy.
Okay.
You're like, I don't know what that means. Like Rihanna
No,
has a
what is
moon in
the
the in the first house. So and I feel like her fans gravitate towards her and they're just like,
ah,
okay, yes. They eat her up, right?
they do.
Because it's
Uh-huh.
something about her that you just feel like you can connect with. And so you would just be nurturing and kind and people would feel comfortable in your energy.
Okay. Okay. So I have a comment, and it's so much that I'm okay. So a comment, I guess, and a question too. So
Okay.
my comment is, it's interesting that you say that because I don't know if this has something to do maybe with the Leo rising, but throughout my whole life, I don't look for it. It just happens this way. Um, I have a knack for getting secrets out of people, and I don't want to do that. It's not something I look to do, but people will tell me stuff, and I'm like, oh, and I keep it. I'm the type of person
Yeah.
like if you tell me something in confidence, and even if it's not in confidence, like most times, I'm not the type of person that'll be like, oh, well, you didn't tell me not to tell it. I just kind of keep it to myself. But it's weird. It's like friends, people I'm close to, strangers, even um, they feel really comfortable telling me certain things.
And I honestly, okay, so I would say sure the Leo because it's very Leo is associated with the heart, right? And Leo is very loving, but I would also say that moon in the first house would really pull people in. Like it's almost just like they feel safe and comfortable. Just opening up to you and sharing their experiences.
Okay. Okay. And so this leads me to the question. Okay.
Okay.
So you
Okay.
said the placidus, is that the word that you
Yes,
said?
Placidus.
Okay. So what does that mean? Or how does that
Oh,
factor
okay.
into
So
it?
there's different house systems. So
Okay.
a lot of people have now shifted towards whole sign, and that is where the ascendant starts at 0. So let's say you're a Leo rising, your first house is all Leo. But in Placidus, they start at the degree of your rising. So like for me, I'm an Aries
Ah,
rising at 19 degrees, but my first house is partially Aries, and then it's like partially it's weird. It's like partially Aries and then it gets into Taurus. So it's like a right. So you can have two signs in in like the same house. It can get tricky if that makes sense.
huh. Okay.
So some people don't like Placidus because they feel like it's messier, right? Whole sign, it's very cut and dry. It's like you have a pizza and all of the toppings are evenly distributed. They're all in the little houses and they have their own home. But like in Placidus, maybe there's some, pieces of pepperoni that are like going from one house to the next and kind of on the cut. So it can
Okay.
be it can be a little messier. There's like a whole debate on which one is more accurate.
Huh.
It just depends. So I would definitely say pull your chart up in whole sign and in Placidus and see which one resonates with you more.
Okay, because I'm looking here now in this Astro Matrix app, and so I think these numbers are starting to make more sense to me now because my sun sign for Aquarius, before it says Aquarius, it says 16 and then a 6. I guess it's the 16 degrees, and then
Yes, and then 6 minutes. Yeah.
oh, see, I didn't know what that meant. I just saw those numbers and I'm like, okay, I don't know.
Yeah, no, it's
Okay,
fine. I mean, most people don't. But yeah,
okay.
so 16 degrees. So essentially like for you with the sun moves about a degree a day, right? Because there are 30 days in the month essentially and the sun is going to be in what are we in right now? Leo season.
Yes,
Right.
it
So
is
the
Leo
sun will
season.
be in
Mhm.
Leo for about 30 days. So like Leo will start at 0 and then it'll end at 29 degrees and like 59 seconds. Then we go to Virgo. So you were born probably, I'm trying to think what 16 would be, like maybe February 5th or 6th. I don't know. I
Whoa,
just
that's
off the
pretty
top.
spot on. Yeah, whoa, that's scary. I was born on the 4th, but that's like super
Okay, yeah.
close. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was just trying to do the math in my head like really
Wow.
quickly. But I know that was actually crazy. So yes, so that's essentially, then you can break your sun sign up into decans or decans. Some people I say decans, but basically there's 3 decans for every zodiac sign. Each is 10 degrees. So you would be it should be the second decan, right? Yes.
Oh,
So each decan has a different ruler. I'm trying to think what Aquarius. The first one is Uranus. The second one would be what's next?
is it
Is it
Saturn?
Mercury? Is it
Or
Is Saturn or Mercury? Oh, you're right.
is
Or
it?
wait, is it Mercury? Oh, don't give me
I
a
can't remember.
line. But
Okay.
essentially, I'm trying to think Aquarius, and then what are the other signs? Gemini and Virgo, right? That's not air sign.
Oh,
Gemini and Libra.
Libra.
So,
Yes.
so
Mhm.
I think it's Mercury. So you would be like a Mercury ruled Aquarius. So essentially, that just gives your sun sign a little more of a flavor or a swagger, like if that makes
Hmm.
sense. So
Okay.
like sometimes people are like, "Oh, I'm this kind of Aquarius. I don't relate with that." And I'm like, "Oh, well, there's different decans, so you need to go and look and see what your decan ruler is, and it gives you a better understanding of that sun sign."
This is making so much
I'm
sense to me because I'm thinking of scenarios. So, like I always tell people, it's a mixed bag with me and other Aquarians. Like sometimes I
Mhm.
can really hit it off with them, and sometimes I can't stand them. And it's my own sign, but and maybe it's the Deccan thing. I don't know.
Yes,
Maybe that's
yes,
it.
yes, because I think it would be Uranus, Mercury, and then Venus. So, like, yes, that is it. I'm like trying to do it all in my head because the Venus would be towards the end, right?
Okay.
So the Venus, so you would be more like Mercury is about communication and it's about exchanging ideas. Maybe you have a lot of friends. You are social, but not necessarily like over the top with it, but you like to learn new things. You're into different topics, trying different experiences, that kind of thing, but very mental.
Yeah, that's me. That's pretty spot on. Yeah, yeah,
And then,
yeah.
especially with that Mercury in Aquarius.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Wow. Okay. Yeah. I'm learning a lot here. So this is really cool.
I know. I feel like I'm giving you a reading. Sorry.
No, 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 no. It's cool. No, I like it. And
Okay.
the funny thing about it is when when I first started this podcast, and I don't know if this is like an Aquarius mindset or whatever, but this is my 5th season. And when I first started, I knew in my head, it's like, okay, well, I want to be more surface in the beginning because
Uh,
I feel like, there's 12 signs and there's so many different things to talk about.
yeah.
And so now at this stage, my goal is I really want to get deeper into the astrology. So I feel like this is perfect. This is, perfect timing.
Okay, good, good.
Yeah.
I'm like, yes, because I
Yeah.
can go to eat.
Yeah. No, that's cool. That's cool. I love it. So, okay. So, I have this question for you. So I was born 7 days after my due date. So I always think about this because
Yeah.
technically I would have still been an Aquarius, right? Or sun sign.
Mhm.
Um, how does that factor or does it factor into your birth chart? Like your original due date, and then maybe like let's say somebody was 2 weeks early or 2 weeks later, and especially if that throws them into another sign.
You know what? I honestly, it's funny because my son was like a week late. I had to be induced, but I
Okay.
don't look at it like that chart is who he was supposed to be. I feel like you arrive at the time and the moment that you were
Mhm.
supposed to arrive. And so I've had people ask me that, and I'm like, I just look at it as your due date is different than your actual time of birth, right?
Gotcha.
Because you arrived and that's your chart and that's it. Like, it's kind of like to go and compare. And then a lot of things, give or take, certain things would still be in the same sign, maybe different degrees, right? So, and maybe the
Mhm.
rising would be switched around in the houses. But I'm
Mhm.
always like, you were born when you were born, and that's the
Right.
chart.
That's it. Okay. Okay. I got you. Okay. And so Yeah, oh, there's so many things like firing off in my head. I'm trying to figure out what I want to ask next. But with the whole idea of the Mercury retrograde, because and I'm curious to know your thoughts on it, because on one side I'm very intrigued, and that's why I wanted to have you on here, because I feel like you give more of a professional view of
I
it.
love it. I try.
And versus, because I see posts too, just I'm not downplaying anybody, but I want to say regular people, and they'll say, oh, I don't want to go to work today because I'm in Mercury retrograde. And it's like, okay, are you
Right.
just
It's like
really
blame
being
it.
lazy, or you just
Right. Blame it on the retrograde. No, you know what? Okay, so I will say, whenever the retrograde comes around,
Chastity?
I'm like, it's whack. For me personally, like recording TikToks, I'll find that I have to restart. I make a lot of mistakes. Like I thought the live didn't save, because sometimes I'll take my TikTok lives and put them on YouTube, but it did save. My hair caught on fire on live. That's a whole nother story. But like it just a lot of
Wait,
things.
seriously?
Yes, yes, I had a candle burning and I went like this. And this is literally the day Mercury was stationing retrograde. And I went like this. And then I was like, I smell a hair. And I turn around and there's like a flame coming up. And I'm like,
Oh my
but I
God.
didn't see it till later, because they were like, we saw some smoke coming from your head. I'm like, I'm done. So
Oh no.
yeah. So stuff just like little mishaps, right?
Yeah.
And depending on the sign, but I do find that for me, it's harder for me to record content and just to keep up with some of my day-to-day responsibilities. I will say it could be a blessing in terms of finding lost items, old
Hmm.
business being closed out. So if somebody owes you some money or there's some stall on a project, maybe that finally comes to a close and you're able to get paid, or whatever, things are able to start to move forward again, or even revisiting things from the past, not your ex, but like projects or things that you've kind of like tossed aside that maybe you're like, ooh, that was a good idea, but I never followed up on
Okay. And Chastity, she was on the show last season. She says I low key
it.
was blaming Mercury retrograde.
No, I mean, I do too, honestly, for a lot of
Yeah.
things, because but it has, people are like, it's not that bad, but it also depends on how it's interacting with your chart, and it's in
Mm.
Virgo, it's moving through my 6th house, right? So a lot of my daily routines, it's been a struggle for me to kind of like keep up with everything. I actually forgot about this
Oh,
podcast until
really?
you like emailed me.
Oh.
So it's just
Hey,
like,
well, I'm glad it worked out.
no, it did work out, but it's just like me trying to figure out, yeah, it is. And then when it goes back into Leo, right? It's right now, it starts at 4 degrees. On the 14th, it'll ease back into Leo. And Leo is more about relationships, creativity, romance. So we might see that we do have some exes from the past pop up. I'm not trying to put that in the universe for you, but that is a
Could.
possibility. Then
Okay.
also, though, creative projects, again, like revisiting old hobbies, maybe even something from childhood. I don't know, like, something that you like to do that you've just not done in years and you decide to pick it back up. It could be a nice time for that.
Huh. Okay. Okay. So with Mercury retrograde, would you say that certain zodiac signs are more prone to feel it than
Yes.
others?
Yes.
Okay.
Gemini and Virgo for sure, because they're Mercury ruled, especially if you are a Gemini rising or a Virgo rising. Like, but the suns too, you're always going to feel it. And I would even say the moons, because Mercury and then the moon is our emotions. So, confusion in terms of what you're feeling or people communicating with you, stuff like that. Oh
Right. Oh, somebody
no.
fell out. Oh,
Yeah.
oh. So I'm guessing Chastity's saying, so for those who are listening on audio, she says, I'm a Leo, but I was talking to one of my homegirls. She told me she fell out with her 20 years, I'm guessing a 20-year friend during Mercury retrograde. Oh, that's not good.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh
She
my
visited the
gosh.
guy she fell in love with. Oh,
Okay, I don't know about that. Like for me, I want to say this. If someone does come back to you, Okay, so even with the falling out, all right, so if you break up or if you fall out during a retrograde, like I remember this guy had blocked me during a retrograde. Yes.
Oh,
Imagine me
well,
being blocked.
I
But
was gonna
yeah,
say
you
I can't
can.
even. That's crazy. Okay, that was on
Okay.
him.
So, and I was like, "Oh, this is actually insane," but it didn't last because it happened during a retrograde. So sometimes things that are done during a retrograde either have to be
Mm,
redone, repeated. So I'm always like, if you can hold off on breaking up with anybody, it's best to do that because if you do break up during a retrograde, sometimes you have to have another breakup. So it's like you guys will get back together, then break up again. Or
wow.
even with a friend, like if you can put a pin in any kind of like drama you have with a friend until after the retrograde, it's best to do that if you can.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And so I know one of the things I've seen, and I think I even saw it on one of your posts too, was things like contracts or maybe
Yes.
big purchases or things
Yes.
possibly holding off on.
Yes. Okay. Life is gonna life, right? So you
Right.
might be like, I have to start this new job. So and it's funny because I learned from the comments because people will comment. Somebody said they started a job during Mercury retrograde. It ended up not lasting. They ended up leaving that job. Someone got married during a Mercury retrograde and it didn't work out.
Oh.
So Mercury does rule contracts, right? So I would say double, triple check all contracts that you're signing if you have to move during a retrograde. And then another thing about a retrograde is like maybe things aren't as they seem. So when
Mm,
Mercury goes direct, you're not necessarily happy with the decision that you made. These are just things to keep in mind.
okay. Okay, that makes
Yeah.
sense. Okay. And so because now I'm thinking, I'm like, okay, I'm feeling good about my podcast schedule now because I feel like by the time I start the next season, we'll be done with
Yes. Yeah. I
the
mean, it's good
retrograde.
to end, honestly. I'm like, it's good to end it out. No, but some people do. I tell people that have Mercury retrograde, sure, you can launch something. Or what people do sometimes too, sometimes even I notice Apple will do this. They'll drop like an update during a retrograde. And so that way it's kind of like a
Mm,
test period. You could see what's working, what's not working. But as far as like if you were trying to launch a project, I would say for sure, absolutely not. Mercury and Mars retrograde for me, it's a no
oh,
go for like, because even if you are feeling confident about it, are the people feeling confident? I don't know.
right. And so when
Yeah.
does Mars retrograde?
That is happening at the end of the year in December. So
Oh,
we don't have
okay.
to worry about that until December, but I would
Okay.
say that's going to impact you as a Leo rising because it's going to retrograde in Leo and Cancer. Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So are these retrogrades, are they um what do I want? Static every year? Is it every
Yeah,
time
so
this
yeah,
is the
so
time
most
frame?
planets are retrograde. Mars, I think, is not every year. It might be every 18 months, or and Venus
Okay,
too. But
okay.
Mercury will be retrograde throughout the year, maybe 3 or 4 times a year. So we're constantly going to be in a Mercury retrograde. Oh, Scorpio rising.
That's it. Oh.
So so I would just say Mercury retrograde is the least of our worries as far as the retrogrades go. Like Mars for me and Venus, because Mars is ambition, it's career, it's action. And I'm an Aries rising. I'm like, do not play with Mars. I'm like, I need to
Oh,
go, 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 because that can slow down any progress. And then Venus can mess with your finances and your relationships. So Venus was retrograde in Leo. Was that last year? That was horrible. I mean, in my opinion,
oh.
because it could just be issues with money. It can be issues with relationships.
Oh,
Like I
okay.
remember when Venus went retrograde, I got COVID. So I was
Oh, really?
isolated in Capricorn. Yeah. And then my refrigerator broke. So like stuff like that can happen where you have big expenses that you weren't expecting.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, that makes
What do you
sense.
mean you can't stand Scorpios? You're a Scorpio rising.
She don't like Scorpios, and she's the Leo sun
Oh, you're Leo
and
sun.
moon,
Okay, yeah. So we have
Scorpio
the
rising.
sun and moon square the ascendant. Yeah, but you know what? I feel like for the Scorpio, Chastity, do you have your sun and moon in the 10th house then? Scorpio risings are constantly going through transformation. And Even though you have that Leo sun and Leo moon, maybe there's a darker energy. I like to call it like goth Barbie to like the Scorpio risings, because it's like there's a darkness, and people can be intimidated by Scorpio risings because there can bring an intensity. So like,
Okay.
because I feel like I didn't really answer your question on the big three. Sorry, I just started.
No, I feel like this is answering it.
Yeah. So your rising is how you come across, right? And I don't call it the representative. It's just how you show up. So even right now, I feel like I'm showing up as an Aries rising. Okay. And then, like your sun, you start to get to peel the layers back. There's your sun, so I feel like everybody gets your rising, closer friends get your sun, then really close friends get your moon, right? Like, so, my friend that stays with me sees my moon sign because they're seeing me like all throughout emotional moments or whatever. I'm not necessarily showing that to my coworkers or even my casual friends, right? That's a deeper level. My family is seeing my moon, how I handle my emotions, but the rising is how you show up. So there's no hiding your rising. Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting because I've been told, mainly in work settings, and they'll say, "Oh, Carlos is so nice," or I've had jobs where people will say, I've had bosses tell me, "Well, I didn't pay attention to it until you complained," because most things I just kind of it rolls off me. I'm a little bit like that in my personal life, but more so professionally. But it's funny because sometimes there'll be mixed settings where maybe somebody from work and then somebody that really knows me, and they're like, he's not quiet, he's not that. I mean, they'll not that I'm mean, but they'll say, "Oh, he's nice," but he's. I guess what you're saying, kind of with your moon sign, like your friend gets to see more of that. I feel like, I don't know if that plays into it for me, but I feel like I'm almost two different people when it comes to work and outside of work.
And absolutely. And then I would even say your sun being in the opposite sign of your moon, you're like, what people are seeing is not really like, okay, even
It's
your
not the real
rising,
thing.
because you're rising, right? It's your rising and your moon in Leo, and then your sun in Aquarius. So you're giving off the Leo vibes, but then the Aquarius is like, leave me alone, everyone. I'm a weirdo.
Right. Yeah.
I don't want to interact with you.
Yeah, that's
because
true.
the Leo, people would think with the Leo, you're more extroverted and friendly. But like, honestly, and then I would even say too, for you, this is what I always tell my Aquarius people, like, you need to date someone that's weird, because like, while you may be thinking that you want somebody that's cute and fun, you really need somebody that's going to like teach you things and be kind of quirky and like open to new experiences and learning and stuff. Like, that's what I always tell my Aquarius friends. I'm like, yeah, you got to find a weirdo.
Hey, no, that's true. Yeah, that is so true, because and it's interesting what you were saying, like the leave me alone part, because if in certain social settings, I think I fool people into thinking that I'm an extrovert, but I always like to call it, I say I'm an extroverted introvert, because at my core.
I literally just said that.
Really? Okay.
Because no, I mean, I can relate because I'm an Aries rising. So I come across you're a fire rising too. So fire risings come off, hey, I'm here, I'm the life of the party. But like, to be honest, I need my time alone. I'm like,
to
like,
recharge.
cut the cameras. Yes.
Yes,
to recharge. So it's like when I go live with other people, it's funny, like you and I are talking, but like when I go live on TikTok with other people, I start to get quiet and everyone's like, this is so weird. They're like, you're not talking. And I'm like, it's other people. I'm like, it's other people talking. And I kind of just like fade into the Capricorn where I'm more introverted. And so it's like, I'm trying to figure that out because it's very strange. I do know about compatibility. I'm gonna be honest. Whenever signs are next to each other, I'm not a fan of it, except for Aquarius and Capricorn, because Saturn was Aquarius's traditional ruler and Saturn is Capricorn's only ruler. So I feel like those two, Capricorn and Aquarius, are very similar. But like Leo and Virgo, you don't remember when J-Lo was like, no Virgos? She's a Leo. She was like,
I talked about that in one of my other podcasts.
She was like, absolutely not. So I think, to be honest, that Leos might find Virgos a little too serious and like a party pooper kind of vibe.
Okay.
Unless there's some Virgo placements in that Leo chart. Because Virgo, I love Virgo, but it can be very, like, think about it. Leo, it's summer, we're outside. Then Virgo, it's back to school. So it's like,
Damn. That's a really good way to put it. That's true. That's their vibe. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's
It
like
is.
we shift and like Virgo's like, let's gotta go to the doctor, get your forms together. Like the energies of Leo and Virgo are very different. I could definitely see sister signs, Leo and Aquarius. Yeah. Sister signs, opposites attract, right?
Right.
I could see that.
Yeah.
And then fire feeds the air, or air feeds the fire. Oh, right. Thank you, Chastity.
Yeah. Yes, I'm loving it too. It's weird because it feels like we're just talking. It doesn't really feel like a podcast to me, which is great. That's always what I aim for.
Yeah, sorry, because we are just talking. I'm like, yeah.
No, I love it. No, it's
okay,
great. Good. It's great. Yeah, but yeah, no, I was gonna ask you something that just slipped my mind. I'm sure it'll come back. Shoot. Oh, I know what it was. Okay. So Capricorns, now, and you tell me if you disagree or not. So I have two for sure, and probably more, but two that I can think of off the top of my head, very close Capricorn friends. And so Aquarius, I feel like we get this reputation of being very blunt. And I think that I sugarcoat things when I need to, but other people don't think I do. So I guess I have a blind spot to that. So I say all that to say that my Capricorn friends, and I can take honesty, like it really doesn't bother me like that, but I have to kind of pull the brakes a little bit, even me being an Aquarius and like, ooh, okay. Do I really want to tell them this? Because I guess my question is, do you get that from people around you being a Capricorn? I know you said you don't feel like you maybe identify so much as a Capricorn, but
yes, actually I do.
Really?
You know what? Well, my son thinks I'm rude. I mean, I do think if I were going to talk about signs that are more like upfront and honest, I would definitely say Capricorn is one of them, and Aquarius. Like my Aquarius friends could be so mean. Like if I were another sign, maybe I couldn't handle it.
Right.
But like
we can handle each other
oh,
well.
Yes. I'm like, they're like, oh, he doesn't like you. And I'm like, what? That's like very rude. But I'm like, oh, you're probably right. Maybe that's true. So I do find that those signs are signs that can be a little blunt, and just depending on the person, the recipient. So that's why I'm always like, when I see an Aquarius with a Cancer, and I do see that quite often, I'm very confused by that, because Cancer is very emotional. Aquarius is more logical. So that
okay. So you just wow. Okay, I wasn't even planning on bringing that up, but you just kind of unlocked something that I've always wondered. So I really don't look at people and say, oh, well, I'm going to be, compatible with this person right off the bat, just off their sign. But I don't know what it is. And I don't know, maybe it's because of my moon or rising or other aspects of my chart. But if I click really well with somebody off the bat, a lot of times they end up being a Gemini or a Cancer. I don't know why. It's just
really Gemini. Yeah, Gemini would be in your 11th house. That's your house of friends. Cancer would actually be in your 12th house, which is the house of secrets, but it's also the house of hidden enemies. But that's interesting to me, because
whoa.
Well, no, it's not saying, because I'm a Aries rising, so Pisces is my 12th house, and I do have a very close friend that's a Pisces. But I have found too that sometimes Pisces can come in my 12th house. The 12th house is kind of dark, right? So it's like they shine
Okay.
this light, if it's the sun, on all of my secrets and like some of my pain and stuff. Because I like to say the 12th house is like a closet that you just have a whole bunch of crap in, right? And if you were to open it, it would just all fall out on you, but it's like out of sight, out of mind. It's your emotional junk. So
Right.
that's interesting.
Yeah.
Like I think I think that's interesting that you do. I mean, that's good because there can be a deep connection with the 12th house, but that
Mhm.
also can be a sign or a house where you find that, depending on what planets fall there, you can have some ops.
Oh.
Or I like to say the op can be yourself because your 12th house is the house of self undoing. So it could be where you self sabotage as well.
Oh. That's
So
I
yeah.
That's interesting because so with Cancer, one thing I will say about them is I do feel like they probably more so than any other sign challenge me to be different. So maybe that's that shining on the 12th house. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's really interesting.
And open up, I'm sure, like,
Yeah.
that would be yeah,
Because I'm
because
more
Aquarius
closed with my
yes,
emotions.
yes. Oh, yeah.
Like I know.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah,
I have,
I
like,
try not to
several
be,
close
but
Aquarius friends. I'm very familiar.
is it detect? So how do you? Okay, so I'll ask this, and then I see we got a few. The chat is like on fire, so I'll make sure I get these
Okay.
comments out too. But so what are your thoughts on Aquarius being detached? Do you think that's a real thing, or why
Yes.
is that?
Um, of course.
Yeah, yes, it
Okay,
is.
so we can talk about your name, the water bearer, right?
Mhm.
Okay. So if we look at the symbol, if we look at the tarot card, I don't know how if you're into tarot, but
I
um
haven't really
the
previously been,
okay, the
but yeah.
star card is the Aquarius and it's like the water bearer and it's pouring the water. I would say with Aquarius, they hold the emotions, they don't get immersed in them. So you're able to hold space for emotions, but you don't really feel the emotions. It's more from an intellectual standpoint. So it can come off
Mhm.
as detached because it's like there's a logical way of approaching even an emotional situation. So it can appear cold to other people, right?
Yeah, I
Because
think
you've
so.
probably rationalized it in your mind and like, you know.
Yeah, I do. That's true.
But I do feel like Aquarians are they feel things deeply, but they don't
Mhm.
express it. So somebody on Twitter said they cry on the inside. I was like, well,
True, they do. I agree.
okay.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay.
At least for me, I feel that way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Mhm.
Interesting. All right. So, wow. Okay. So I'll go through these. So Chastity says, "How do you feel about two of the same signs dating?"
Oh, you know what? It's always like a mirror. So if you are cool with looking at the mirror and dating who's in the mirror, I think it can work. But I do feel like sometimes it can be challenging because the sun is your ego. So when you guys are to get into like a little power struggle, who's going to back down, especially if you kind of approach the situation in the same manner. Does that make sense? So like
It does.
who's going to be willing to be the one to say, okay, maybe I'll apologize. But if you have like two fixed signs, two Leos together, like,
Ooh. Yeah.
is which one of them is going to give in?
Uh-huh. I Because of that, I've always been hesitant to date another Aquarius because I feel like what you just said, with the emotional piece, um, I don't want somebody that's going to be a crybaby, but at the same time, I want, I do want maybe a little bit of an emotional
Yeah.
opposite than what I am, because if I mean, two Aquarians, I mean, we'll wait it out. I mean, I mean, it's just not gonna
Yes, yeah,
work.
you're right. So, I mean, I completely agree with you. And so
Yeah.
I think it does have to be that person that's going to be the bigger person.
Mhm,
I have seen, two sun signs dating and it works. I think it could be tricky.
mhm. Yes, for sure.
Yeah.
And then Cobb Channel, which is Marcus. So Marcus, thanks for checking out the show. He says, could you explain more about Pisces sun? He's a Libra rising and Gemini ascendant. I was
Wait,
just
you're a
shocked.
Libra? Wait, maybe he means a Gemini moon, maybe. Or
Oh,
Libra
yeah.
moon and Gemini, because yeah, I'm confused. He
Oh,
got it
okay.
right.
Uh-oh. Let
Yeah,
me see if
because
he has another comment.
rising and ascendant. Okay.
Uh, Okay, I don't see another comment from him on it, but maybe he'll pop back in and clarify it.
Okay. But also too, if
Huh.
you're noticing that you are having issues with a sign that is in your own chart, or like maybe you're like for me, I'm an Aries rising, and I do have sometimes issues with Aries, but it's because their sun is in my first house. The first house is the house of self. So there can be kind of like I was just talking about, like dating your same sun sign. So
Hmm.
your rising is how you approach situations. Someone else's sun is the ego, so it can be kind of a friction and like a bit of a power struggle for me. I found when I do encounter someone with the same sun sign as my rising.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I'm gonna put myself on and we still have well, I'll get through these first, and then I have
Okay.
a question. I feel like it's a
Okay.
dumb question, but I'm gonna ask it anyway. So Chastity says, Cobb, I feel you. When I used to diss Scorpios, I had no idea it was in my
Right.
chart. I'm like, WTF.
Right. And so that's the thing that I laugh at. Okay, so for me too, honestly, because I would always be like, Aries, they're so obnoxious, they're so rude. And then I was like, oh my God, I'm an Aries rising. I was like, they're so loud. I can't stand them. So I do, but it is kind of like you're forced to take a look at some of those characteristics of yourself that maybe that are not necessarily as flattering as you'd like them to be. So there is a side to me that can be very loud and obnoxious and a little self-focused.
Okay.
Oh, I love Brandy. Oh my
That's cool.
gosh. Yes, and I met her and I was like, "Oh my
Oh
God. Hi,
wow, that's
Brandy." Yeah,
cool.
I did. I
Oh
did.
wow,
That's like my
that's
favorite
awesome.
artist. So I was like, "I'm
Really? Oh
freaking
wow.
out." She was like,
That's
"Yeah." She's
Chastity's
like,
favorite too. Yeah, that's funny.
"Oh yeah." She's like, "Why are you freaking out?" And she gave me a compliment about my bag and I was so hyped.
Oh
So that was
wow,
a good
that's dope.
moment. Okay, just I'm sorry, I have to tell
No,
everyone.
no, hey, I
She's
love
my
it.
favorite artist.
Hey, I would be the same way if I met my favorite artist. So hey,
Right. I was like, yes, yes. Granny is of it. I was literally just talking about her being Aquarius sun. She's a little I think she's a Venus in Pisces too. And I have Venus in Pisces. She's a little kooky, but I
yeah,
like her.
yeah,
She's a little
she does
kooky.
have some little kooky
Yeah,
ways. I agree.
yeah.
Hmm. So the rest of these are just kind of comments. So Chastity says, I need her to read my birth chart. She is deep. I totally agree. I love tarot, and she says it's
Oh
enhanced
yes.
in me.
I definitely tarot, especially for Scorpio rising. I would say anything that's like kind of woo woo, astrology, tarot, numerology,
You'll be
anything.
all
You
over it.
chastity, yeah.
Huh. Okay. Okay. So I guess my dumb question I'll ask. So I know you mentioned about the houses, right?
Hmm.
So from my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm Aquarius sun, I think, well, Aquarius in general is the 11th house, right?
Hmm.
So do the houses switch when you start talking about moon rising?
Yes. Okay. I'm
Oh,
glad you
okay.
asked that.
Okay.
So in a natural chart, Aquarius is in the 11th house. So I have an Aries rising. I have a natural chart. Aquarius is in my 11th house. Okay. So it's the house of friendship. But like with you, because you have a Leo rising, your first house starts at Leo. So Aquarius, your sun would be in the 7th, I'm assuming. Yeah, I think. But I would have to look at
Okay.
it depending on Placidus, right? Because it can change. But so your sun is not in the 11th house, but as an Aquarius sun, you would identify with friends, community, humanity, all 11th house themes. Your Gemini is in the 11th house. That's why you would attract Geminis, because those would be the type of friends that you were like.
Oh,
Like I have a lot of
okay.
Aquarius friends because 11th house, but like I have like
Okay.
3 close Aquarius friends. My 11th house in Aquarius. They like
It's on
me.
the
I
chart.
like
I'm looking at it
them.
now.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, wow, that's spot on because I see it here in my, I guess 11th house. Chiron, is that how you say it?
Chiron? Oh, you have Chiron
Chiron.
in
Oh,
there?
Chiron. Yes,
Okay.
it's
Sorry, I feel like
Gemini.
I'm about to.
Oh no, you're good.
Oh,
Bless
excuse
you.
me. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes, Chiron is the wounded healer. So
Okay.
maybe there too can be some lessons and some hurt that comes through friendships. I'm
Huh.
not wishing that on you, but
Right,
Chiron
right.
can.
But
I'm like, come on.
through you're saying specifically through Gemini friendships
Well, just through
or
friendships,
through
period,
friendships?
because that would be
Yeah.
your 11th house, or even like you have the ability to help others and be some kind of leader in a group or organization
Mm.
and share your experiences that you've been through. It's so interesting because you're doing a podcast, and Chiron and Gemini is sometimes the wound of like our voice and our expression and sharing our opinions. So, like, even you just doing this podcast is like very encouraging because you're like, getting past that insecurity because Chiron is like where we feel insecure, we feel less than,
Uh,
so it could be in terms of communication for you.
okay.
And I don't know if this is something that you had to get past, that maybe in the past you weren't as confident with expressing yourself and things like that.
It's still a struggle. So believe it or not, I've done. So this is my fifth season of this podcast, and before then, I did two other podcasts, but technically three, and I felt more comfortable in the group settings because you have somebody to kind of play off the energy, or I can kind of play the back seat a little bit. But with this is I have to amp myself up mentally
Yeah.
because it's like, oh, it's just me. So yeah, it's and not the excitement. I'm excited, maybe even more excited with doing it by myself, but it's just hyping myself up to I guess get the guts to do it. It's kind of hard, and I think, and I write poetry and love poetry, but I always tell people like there's a difference between a poet and a spoken word artist. And I think I always fall in the poet category because I just write stuff and I want to give it to people like, hey, read this. But
Yeah.
I don't want to perform it.
But the Leo energy is saying, get out there.
Right. Yeah, because it's true, because I have spurts, they're rare. But if I feel it, then I'm like, ooh, I need to do it while I'm in this mood
Yeah.
because it'll leave if I don't.
And I would definitely say
do it.
during Leo season, it's a good time for you. Or even when like, Venus is out of Leo, but during Leo season, and even when Mars goes into Leo before it goes retrograde, that'll give you like the boost, the battery as it goes through your first house, because your first house is right how you show up. So when there's transits through your first house, you can feel more confident. Well, with planets that are positive or considered benefic, like the sun. Mars is a malefic, but it still will give you like the energy. And by
Okay.
malefic, I just mean has more of a negative connotation. Like people now in modern astrology don't say malefic, but I'll just say Mars is more challenging. Venus is more lighthearted, right? Venus is let's have some grapes and relax. Mars is like, let's go do a marathon. You know what I mean?
Okay. Like, whoa. Okay, right.
Right.
More
So
intense.
like the different energies, are they present in different ways. But I would say
Okay.
as Leo season, that's a great time for you as far as putting yourself out there.
Okay. That's good to know. I'm glad to know that. Okay. And so I think Marcus gave us a little more clarification. He says he's a
Oh,
Pisces, but
oh,
discovered that he's a Libra rising. Oh, he said sorry for the
okay.
confusion.
Got it. No, okay. So you're a Pisces, you discover your Libra rising. So that's interesting because I do like Pisces and Libra energy together, even though those signs are
Mhm.
in conjunct. They're considered to be, what is it, 5 signs apart. Quincunx, that means that they have nothing in common. They're not the same element or modality. Pisces is mutable, Libra is cardinal, Pisces is water, Libra is air. So it's like your neighbor down the street that you don't really like. Not that you don't really like, but that you don't really have anything
Right.
in common with. But I
Right.
do find that for me, with Libra and Pisces, those are two in conjunct signs that I feel like are similar because both of them Pisces is dreamy, creative. Libra is
Mhm.
Venus, artistic, harmonious. Pisces likes to get along. So I do find that those energies kind of blend well, in my opinion, together.
Huh. Okay. I can see that. So I just really, and I'm sorry, I know we're already at an hour, so I'll try to wrap it up here soon. I don't want to abuse your time. Um, but, but so I'm looking at the, like all of the, I guess it would be the planets
Hmm.
of my chart. And so I noticed I have absolutely no, and maybe a couple of others too, but the two I'm seeing right off the bat, no Virgo and no Cancer.
Okay,
Um, so,
that's normal.
oh, it is? Okay.
It is. So you will not have all of the signs, all of you have all the signs in your chart, right? Because people will be like, I
Mhm.
don't have Cancer in my chart. I'm like, okay, you do have Cancer in your chart, but you don't have planets in Cancer. Okay. So you'll
Oh,
have
okay.
all of the signs, but
Mhm.
maybe there's no planets there. But then you start to look at the house cusp. So you don't have anything in Cancer, but Cancer is on the cusp of your 12th house because you're a Leo rising. So in the 12th house would be Cancer themes. Like the 12th house is it's healing, it's solitude, it's intuition, it's spirituality. So maybe you're very
Mhm.
intuitive and you have downloads and dreams and but
Mhm.
if you're tapped
Okay.
in, right?
Yeah.
So you would look to like I don't have any planets in certain signs and I don't have anything in Gemini, right? I also can look to where Mercury is. So then you don't have any planets in Cancer, but you can look to where the moon is in your chart. The moon is in your first house. All right. So you have the
Huh.
ruler. I'm getting a little deep right now to
No,
the
I
point, but
like it. I'm following it.
the
Okay.
ruler of the 12th is in the first. So then you can kind of figure out like, okay, well, how does that present? You may wear your heart on your sleeve. You may be more spiritual and a little woo woo on the low. It may not be as like out there for people to see, but maybe like once people to get to know you, they see that you're a very spiritual person and
Mhm.
you're into a lot of like occult things and stuff like that. So that's kind of how I look at it. But you will not have a planet in every sign. That's just not
That's normal.
possible. Okay.
Okay. Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, gotcha. Okay. And so I see that I'm loving this episode because I have like a couple of standard questions that I ask, and I totally forgot about them. So I'll
Oh,
just
okay.
circle back to them quickly. But
Okay.
so one of them that I've been doing this season is called "I
I
Got
like this.
500." Oh, thank you. And so I'm curious as and you can pick one if you'd rather
Okay.
do maybe your moon or your rising, that's fine too. But as a Capricorn or either your moon or rising sign, what would 5 words what would 5 words be you would use to describe that sign?
Oh wow. Okay. So I'll do my moon.
Okay.
Um let's see. Mm, distant. That's shady, but logical.
And that's Aries moon? Oh,
Capricorn.
Capricorn moon. That's right. That's right.
Yeah. So
Yeah. Okay.
Capricorn, the moon doesn't like it in Capricorn. Ambitious. I would say a little cold and protective because the moon gets a bad rap in Capricorn. It's the moon is not happy there, right? Capricorn is Saturn. It's very keep calm, carry on. It's very serious. It's not about like having a lot of emotions. So
Mhm.
I do think that sometimes it can take Capricorn moons and Capricorn placements period a long time to process their feelings, even though Capricorn is the sea goat, right? People just think of the goat, but traditionally it's the sea goat. So half fishtail in the water, the upper half with the hooves on the land. So that's why Capricorn is considered to be one of the more spiritual signs of the zodiac because they're
Mm.
truly the only mythical creature.
Right. Huh. That's interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Sorry, I just like
So
went on a
no,
tangent.
no, no. Like I say, I love it. This is great because I feel like it's so different than a lot of the episodes I've done, which is totally what I wanted. This is what I was looking for. So this is
So
great.
cool.
Um, and so this is another segment I do called High Low. So basically, and again, you can pick either of your big three
Okay.
for how you would answer this question. But how do you handle people, or what's the high vibrational answer and the low vibrational answer of people asking you what or why are you a modern mystic?
The low vibrational, I'm going to answer from my Aries rising is
Okay.
F around and find out. Okay.
As soon as you said Aries rising, I was like, well, it's about to be some smoke.
Okay. Cross me and find out why I'm a modern mystic. But you know, that's really actually accurate. The high vibrational response would be, you know, I consider myself, I come from a long line of like woo woo women. Like my mom was very much into astrology and crystals and all types of stuff before it got cool. Like before people were like, yeah, we can, you know, when it was more, I like to say closeted because people weren't
Right.
necessarily out with their
Yes,
sage and all this stuff. Like it wasn't a thing. So I do feel like it's in my DNA. And I think that I am here to help others to heal and to actually see themselves through their charts and to be understood because we all want to be understood, right? And to make sense of some of the behaviors, like because knowing my astrology chart helped me to understand why I do some of the things I do. Now I'm not saying blame your sun sign or your rising or moon, but it
Right.
can kind of give you a perspective in terms of why you are the way you are.
Okay. I love that. I love it.
Mhm.
But yeah, Aries, I feel like that's like Aries on a t-shirt, like F around and find out. Like that's their
Yes,
whole vibe to me.
yes. I've had to simmer down a lot.
I love it. Okay. So the last part I have is it's a segment, Dead in the Water, and basically I'll give you 5 this or that questions.
Okay.
And so instead of telling me the one that you like the most, you'll actually tell me the one that you would get rid of or throw back in the water.
Okay.
But before we get to that, I'm curious to get your take on one thing.
Okay.
So today I've seen this floating around a lot. Today's date is 888 if you factor in that we're in an 8-year. So
Yes.
does that have any kind of special significance on its own or with the Mercury retrograde?
Okay. So I'm glad you asked because like it's very annoying to me because people are like have different takes on this. So for me, I look at 888 more from a numerology aspect because yes, we're in an 8-day, it's an 8-month and an 8-year. So eight is a powerful number of manifestation. It's the infinity sign, right?
Mhm.
Infinite possibilities. Now, I do see a lot of astrologers arguing about this because there's no such thing as the Lion's Gate. The Lion's Gate is something that I feel like is not necessarily astrology based. So somebody did ask me like, should I be manifesting because Mercury retrograde? But I'm like, I don't really consider this to be more of an astrological, um, kind of transit or event, right?
Okay.
The Egyptians believe that this was when Sirius would line up with Orion's belt, Earth, and the sun, excuse me. So the Nile would flood, the Nile would rise and it would flood the land and they would have crops. So they considered this time of the year, like the dog days of summer, they call Sirius the dog star, to be a very abundant year. So from a numerology standpoint, I like 888. I don't necessarily like take it as an astrology thing. I look at
Okay.
too, if you believe in it, you believe it. Like I'm tapped in because I feel like the Egyptians, they had to be on to something. So I'm like, sure, whatever.
Right.
I feel like, all right, Lions Gate, open on up for me, But like I see people are like debating because I saw this girl on TikTok, like, this is not true. And I'm like, girl, bye. Like every everybody has to just do what's best for them. But I would say if you wanted to manifest something, sure. And we're still coming off that new moon in Leo with this lion energy. I love it.
Okay. Okay, cool. I just wanted to
Yeah.
get your perspective on that because I've seen so much of it today, just kind of floating around online and things like that. Okay, cool. All right. So the first question I have for you is, if you had to get rid of one, moon or rising?
My moon.
Oh, really? You would get rid of your moon?
Yes. That's like
Well,
the
you
worst
did kind of
moon
say
to
that.
have.
You did say that.
Yeah.
Okay, so you get rid of the moon. All right. So intuition or karma, which one would you get rid of?
Karma. I mean, there's good karma, but a lot of that karma that's coming back on us, it could be like past life. It could be. So let's just throw that out.
Okay, throw that out. All right. Okay. As it relates to food or just taste in general, spicy or sweet?
You know what? I'm going to say spicy because I have a sweet tooth. I love sweet. So spicy.
Not spicy. Okay. All right. All right. This one is a music question. So John Legend or Alicia Keys?
Both. No, I'm kidding. Now, you know what? I'm going to say Alicia Keys because love to Alicia Keys, but despite her knowing how to play the piano, she always sings off key. Get her out of here. I'm sorry. It's true.
I wasn't prepared for that.
Oh, my bad. I'm sorry. And then
No. It's good. Huh?
she posted something on Twitter, like, you know how they were like, I know a so-and-so hates to see you coming or whatever. She was like, I know a piano hates to see me coming. And they were like, girl, I know a microphone hates to see you coming. I'm sorry.
Because I'm a fan of both of those people. But I will say, I like, there's certain people's voices that I love their voice.
Yeah.
But if I have to really say, are they, okay, so like Mary J. Blige, I love her voice, but she's technically not a good singer to me.
Yes.
If you're counting notes
Right.
and hitting the notes and all that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think Alicia Keys is an incredible musician. She's a really great songwriter. But you do have a point. Vocally, I can't say.
It's
Sorry.
insane for her to like be to play the piano and to be able to know the keys and like it's just it is what it is. I'm sorry. The notes.
So this is before the last question. We have a couple little comments. So Chastity says happy 8/8/2024. And it's the day of 8. And she says, she was horrible at the Super Bowl. Yeah, it wasn't that great. Dang. Sorry, Alicia. But oh well.
I feel bad. I'm like,
No, it's good. It's good. And the last one is tea or lemonade. Which one would you get rid of?
tea. Okay.
Okay. Get rid of tea. Okay.
Gotta have that tea. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, cool. Well, this is great. The time just flew by. So sorry we went a little bit over an hour, but I had so many things I wanted to kind of cram in and get for this episode. So thank you so much again for joining, Candice. And anything that you want to share about your platforms or what you do or anything you want people to know about?
Okay, yes, I do offer readings. If you're interested in astrology reading, just check out my TikTok. The link is in my bio. And I don't know, I think that's it. And make sure to follow me. And what did you say? Subscribing is thriving. I'm gonna steal that from you.
Okay, yes. Thank you.
That's good. I was like, I like that.
Thank you. I believe it or not, I kind of took it from I get random ideas, like usually in the middle of the night or sometimes if I'm sick or something. And I don't know if you watched Insecure. I think it was the last season when they asked Kelly, like, how are you doing? And she was like, oh, we're thriving or whatever. And so for some reason that episode popped in my head and I was like, sharing is caring, subscribing is thriving. I was like, I'm gonna start saying that.
That's super cute. Yeah.
I appreciate it. But thank you again. And I love it. It's been great having you on. And then for the listeners, viewers, Make sure you go out and follow Candice. Again, this is the final episode of the season, so I'm really glad, Candice, that you were on this one, because I feel like we went out with a bang. And next season is going to be very different. I'm doing the ick for season 6.
Oh.
So it's going to be the ick of all 12 signs.
I love that.
Okay, so what that person feels like their ick is, and then kind of like what the people think it is. So it may match or it may not match, but
that's cool. I like that.
Thank you. All right. Well, thanks again, Candice. This
Thank
has
you,
been
Carlos.
amazing.
This was fun.
Thank you. All right. Have a good one. And see y'all next season for season 6.
Bye.